Hey everybody, Mo here, and today we are going to do our VOD review on Miss Fortune Aurora. So we're going to be going through two VODs today. I'm going to try and do them really quickly. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I know this first set took 75 minutes or like legitimately over an hour to complete two games, and I don't remember how long the first set took from day one, but obviously it would have to be less than 55 minutes because there's round times in day one. I will be playing it at 2x speed, so we're not going to sit here and watch 75 minutes of slow play. I'll be skipping around. Some of the opponents are kind of just like sitting around, or the turns don't do a whole lot. But the point being is, I just want to let you guys know we're in it for the long haul here. This is going to be an in-depth competitive VOD review on Miss Fortune Aurora. This is what I believe to be one of the strongest decks in the entire game. Effectively, only loses really hard to Victor, destroys Kai'Sa. It's Kai'Sa's worst matchup. It beats Yi, it beats Set, and then your Darius matchup is like close to 50-50. Both winnable and losable, just depends on how each player draws effectively. So before we get into the video, I wanted to remind you guys that I have a Metafy. The day after this video comes out, there will be an in-depth sideboard guide to Miss Fortune Aurora. This will pair the whole, or finish off the series I have on Miss Fortune Aurora. The other day, I put out a deck guide on deck tech on Miss Fortune Aurora, going over how the deck is built, how you want to play it, all of that type of stuff. And then I'll have this VOD review coming out over it, and then I'll have a complete sideboard guide over on my Metafy for free, just like I did with the Darius Hook games, Darius Hook deck, and then the next one will be Set, and then Kai'Sa, and then, more decks. We're gonna go over all the decks. Don't worry, guys. All the good decks, if even not good decks, we'll go over them all, figure out how to play them, all that fun stuff. Today, I'm gonna be bringing you two games, or two sets, from the, I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry, I think it's Gongshu, is what I was told, but from the China Open, the very first, official Riot Open, an official Riot tournament even. 512 players. The Miss Fortune player we're watching right now, this is top 32, I believe. So when they, I say when they win this, spoiler alert, I was going to tell you anyways, when they win this, they'll go on to top 16, unfortunately get knocked out in top 16. But this Miss Fortune player made it all the way to top 16, and then there was another Miss Fortune player in top 32. Quite a few Miss Fortunes made day 2. And then the second set I'm going to show you, it's kind of like a how to lose with Miss Fortune video. I'm really not trying to flame anyone specific. I'm not trying to say, wow, this person was so bad, let's make an example out of him. It just happens that, there were a lot of very common mistakes made, and that's fair. The deck just came out. The game just came out. A brand new game, playing in person, on camera, a lot of nerves and stuff, right? So I'm not trying to say this person is a shit player, they'll never win, blah, 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 blah. Don't read into it that much. It is just simply a good learning experience for everybody to be able to see the most common traps. Like, I can tell you the most common traps, but seeing the most common traps happen and how it actually affects real games helps people learn a lot better, I've noticed in my years of coaching and helping people improve at tradable card games competitively. So that's gonna be for the intro. Like, subscribe, go join my Metafy, all that type of stuff. I'll be putting out guides also over on tactor.com, so make sure to go check those out. I'll be doing a weekly meta as far as the most played decks that I think should be played more that could counter the meta decks, and then I'll put out a dark horse on all of those. That's an article that'll be going out every single week, as well as I'll put out a second article every week going over some sort of competitive, like, these are the best competitive cards in purple in each color. Maybe I'll do a quick, like, how to play each champion or the basis of each champion, colors, all that type of stuff. There's a lot of learning to do. Game comes out in effectively 2 full months, because we all say October, but it's October 31st, which is effectively November. So we have 2 full months to prepare and get ready and everything like that before the game comes out, and then only about a month and a half to a month before we start actually playing in real tournaments, the North American Regional Qualifiers. There's a $10,000 tournament already scheduled in Florida in December, so it seems like it's a long ways away, but trust me, guys, you want to start training now, because there are people training now. There are people prepping, all that type of stuff. Don't let them get too far ahead of you. Join my Metafy. Subscribe here so you get all the notifications. I'll be putting up coaching, all that other stuff in the future, but that's later down the line. Right now, we're just focusing on Miss Fortune Aurora. So this, anyone wondering how I'm watching this, this was actually a co-stream done on Turn 'em Sideways. So day 2, I did it with Casanova for most of the day, I think all the way up till top 4. Again, this was top 32, where we covered this in English. So go check out this VOD, Turn 'em Sideways. They do a bunch of great content. I do content with them. And they did English co-streams. I believe they're doing English co-streams for every single China Open coming up for the next few weeks. I'll be trying to do as many day 2s as I can for as long as I can. to go over that, give insight, competitive vision. It's not just a commentator set of us sitting here going like, wow, the Miss Fortune player, he drew a card and he plays his draw too. No, we're going to be going over like how the matchup should play, what they're doing, why what they're doing is correct, or what they could have done differently. Just a lot of insights more than just simply commentating over top of it. So go check that out. That's what I'll be using. Sorry for covering up your beautiful face cast, but I'm sure they'll understand. All right, so let's turn this on to 2x speed. So that way we can kind of get through this. So we're past mulligans. We didn't get to see the Miss Fortune opponent mulligan, so it didn't matter too much. And then they are going second. I don't know if that's because the Kaisa player won the die roll and chose to go first, or the Miss Fortune player chose to go second. Either way, this is already favorable for Miss Fortune for 2 reasons. 1, we're playing against Kaisa, which is our best matchup / Kaisa's worst matchup. And then 2, we're getting to go second here. The battlefield out is Aspirant's Climb, so we're playing a 9-point game. We have our turn 1, sleight of hand. We can't really see what they have here. We see a confront, which is what we take. So we have confront, Gust, Gorger. Out of all of these, I'm probably down to just take the confront to draw more, especially if we're missing any combo pieces, if we're missing any ramp or missing the Aurora, because you can just slam the confront down here to draw one. We opt to play the sleight of hand, or not sleight of hand, I always call it sleight of hand, sorry, the stack deck, which we didn't need to. We could have just confronted because our opponent doesn't have a 2-might unit out, so we don't need to hold 1 mana open for anything. So the most mana efficient thing to do would have been to just go ahead and draw 1 card here, but maybe we already have 1 piece of the combo in our hand, and then we are going to just be looking for the second piece, which is why we're digging so hard with the stack deck. I wish I could see the hand, so yeah, I do see we have a Gust, but we don't need to hold Gust open. Treasure Trove, confront Anivia. We take the Treasure Trove. Obviously, we don't have a Treasure Trove in our hand, or we probably would have played it, and I think we're just going to pass here unless that's the answer. So you have triple stack deck. Makes a lot of sense. We find the Aurora. We take the Aurora immediately. I have not seen this player's hand. Even if you already had Aurora, I am taking a second Aurora anyways. That is how you beat this matchup. You just kind of win this matchup by slamming out the Dazzling Aurora card. Your opponent on Kaisa cannot deal with Dazzling Aurora, the card. We know that. Dazzling Aurora is Kaisa's worst matchup, just any type of Dazzling Aurora, but we're chilling, right? So here we have Pack of Wonders, and we know we have the Treasure Trove in hand, so we're going to do Pack of Wonders, Treasure Trove combo. And what this is going to do is effectively allow us to start ramping and drawing a card. You know, we've gone over the Treasure Trove Pack of Wonders combo before in the deck guide video. So now we were at 5 mana at the start of this turn. We went up to 6 mana. We're going to go up to 8 mana. Unfortunately, we were 1 off of being able to just turn 3 this Dazzling Aurora. So we are going to get this done on turn 4. But that's fine because we're playing on Aspirant's Climb. So we can, you know, have an extra one. Or take an extra turn here, that's fine. We don't have Fighter Flights, I think, in our deck. The judges here, no comment on the judges. They told me the whole weekend if they do anything in this match, I'll just ignore it or tell you why they're doing what they're doing if they start bothering stuff. But, okay, here's something I want to point out, though, and this is partly why this matchup is so good for Aurora. Let me show you this hand. Let me see if he fans it out again. Okay. Oh my gosh, so close. So, anyways, we can see in this hand, there are, let me slow it down to 1x speed to try and get my point across to you guys. So here, we're going to pass this whole turn. So we get our card with Kaisa, we filter, we do all that fun stuff, and yeah, we draw with Kaisa, we filter, and then now we're going to take a look at the whole hand, I believe. And let's see if we fan it out one more time here. Okay, look at this hand, and this is one of the reasons that Miss Fortune is so favored into Kaisa. If you look at this hand from Kaisa, it's already slightly clunky. You know, it's a bunch of units. It's no spells that really do anything. This is actually one of the better hands you can have into an Aurora deck, where you simply can just go play unit, play Kaisa, accelerate, you know, get another point, get another card. But you can't use your units efficiently, and then you can't really use these big units to wipe our stuff, which is what Darius is really good at. Darius is really good at coming down with Cleave, going over top of some unit your opponent played on like turn 3, right? Well, we're not doing that. We're kind of just passing and doing a bunch of stuff. So even with this being an amazing hand against Aurora, where you don't have a bunch of dead spells in your hand, the fact that you're not going to be getting a whole lot of value out of these things like the Darius Accelerated or your 4-might unit to be able to go over top of our units and stuff like that. It's very, very good for us. Now we're going to see if we can get a look at the Aurora hand. I think I saw at least one Anivia in there. At least I think it's double Aurora. Let me see if I can catch it here. Okay. So we have Gust, Treasure Trove. Oh, we do have a push. I wonder if that's the card we just drew for turn. If we had a push, then we definitely should have not played the Treasure Trove Pack of Wonders last turn. Like, you can play the Treasure Trove, but just don't play the Pack of Wonders. So that way you can hold open the push, the fight or flight, and you can actually push the Kai'Sa back that you know is coming into attack. You stop them from getting a point, but notably you also stop them from drawing a card and filtering too. So I'm just going to assume that we top deck the fight or flight because that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have not held open fight or flight. So here on this turn, we are on 8 mana, so we can bounce Treasure Trove, draw a card, all of this fun stuff. And then now that our Kai'Sa opponent has tapped out, that's opened the window for us to smokescreen with the Snapvine. Typically, Snapvine is a card you sideboard out into Kai'Sa because they just smokescreen it and then you're super sad. When your opponent is shields down, only has 1 mana or something like that, or sometimes you just need the play to go off for it, you can go ahead and Snapvine kill it. And then the important thing here is because we ramped the 1 rune with that... with the Treasure Trove combo, we actually ramped 2 overall, is we're allowed to play this Snapvine, but still have enough energy. Okay, we top deck to Falling Star, which is an amazing draw, by the way. An amazing top deck. Had 0 spells in like we saw, so they're able to kill the Snapvine here, which is pretty interesting. Our Miss Fortune opponent here makes a lot of mistakes. They do this several times. I'm not sure why. I'm not going to accuse someone of cheating or doing it maliciously. You know, game is new, all of this stuff. But he tries to gust his Snapvine back to his hand, which is very interesting. Now the opponent just kind of knows there's a Snapvine there. Or sorry, knows there's a gust in his hand, which doesn't matter too much. You know, we played a 4-might unit, which, again, this is like the best opener you can have into us. If this was any other units, like a Watcher, or even if it was just a student or something, you force them to use cleave. Actually, they can't even save their unit at fast speed here. But here we ramp up, we go to 9, and we just slam down the Aurora. Our opponent is effectively at 5 points, but because we're playing to 9, being at 5, that's so far away. That is so many turns away. It's fine. Here, if we hit a Dead Bloom, if we hit a Snapvine, we're big chillin' because we essentially forced them to have another smokescreen. Right, which we know that they don't have probably because they tapped out for it. So they either didn't have it or didn't care if their Kai'Sa died, which here, obviously, they either drew this here or we know they drew it here, but the logic is like maybe they don't care because they have other Kai'Sas. So this is, again, the best possible opener from a Kai'Sa player. And I'm not just saying that to cope. I'm not saying that, because of any reason. I'm just saying the opponent drew 0 of their cheap damaging spells that did nothing, right? They had a 4-might unit here really early, which dodged our Gust. They had double Kai'Sa, like you have Kai'Sa in Champ Zone, but they drew another Kai'Sa to be able to get there. To draw more stuff. They had the smokescreen to stop the Snapvine. They drew a Falling Star to kill the first Snapvine. We have 0 units in play. So this is like the best possible opener for this Kai'Sa player. And now it does not matter because we're just going to get so much value before our Kai'Sa opponent is able to actually close out the game that it doesn't matter, right? So here we're playing around a second smokescreen by playing a Dead Bloom Predator onto the 2-might unit. I agree with this play, mostly because it also helps us filter. My issue with this play is just that we have a Gust here, right? We know we have a Gust. We could have just gusted the unit. So here we are going to do this. I personally would have played Sky Splitter on this battlefield with the Dead Bloom Predator. I think we end up playing Sky Splitter in the back. There's 2 things. One, if you play Sky Splitter onto the battlefield and then they have the Fox, you do kind of get hosed, right? Because you're effectively at 5 and then 4, so you're for 9 here is what you're holding for. They're going to come in for 7 with the Fox, which you have to push back. And then to come in for 9, they have to come in with all 3 of their units. I will say the upside to all of this is that if you have a Miss Fortune spell in hand, which your opponent knows you're on because we saw you recycle at least 1 to the bottom off of the Aurora trigger, you can kind of just bullet time their entire, life away. They have triple Darius, double Cleave in hand, which is kind of absurd. Obviously, it's no Fox, so we didn't get punished by we did kind of get punished by not putting him up front there, but is what it is. You can't have perfect hand formation. So we take a Cleave. I love this. I love taking a Cleave. Cleave makes your bullet times easier to cast. Cleave also, I believe Cleave is a reaction. Let me double check on that. If Cleave is an action, tilt over. I think Cleave is just an action. Cleave. Oh, cards. And Cleave. Yeah, Cleave is just an action. So I think maybe we are supposed to just take a Darius so we don't have to fight through triple Darius. Cleave is much cheaper and easier to play, I agree, but your opponent has so much mana here. I think they're on 10 mana. They could just go Darius, come in for 14, and then, like, what do you do? And that's on top of them having the Cleaves as backup. I like just having to force your opponent to play the Darius in their hand, you know, spend all of that mana instead of saying, like, okay, take the cleave out. Sorry, this is the reason why cleave is good, is you can take the cleave out, force them to play the Darius, force them to spend more mana so they can't use spells on it. I think our opponent's thinking a lot. We play Darius cleave. It's going to come in for 10. And then we are going to just push it back, I think. Yeah, we push back to 10. So now we're holding for 8, and we have a Gust. So they have to come in with Kaisa, and the reason we pass here is because we have 1 rune up. To clear the Dead Bloom, you have to come in with Kaisa and the 4 might units, and the, what is this unit's name? And the Rear Guard. And when you do that, we're trading our Dead Bloom for 2 of your units, a champion and another 4 might unit, and then we can simply Gust the, what is his name? I just forgot it. We dust the 2 might unit back to their hand, right? We gust it back to their hand so they don't get the capture point, which is really important, because notice we're on 6 points here as Kaisa player, and they didn't get to 7. Because we're playing to 9 points, and I don't know if the Kaisa player didn't realize this and didn't want to try and push it or not, or maybe he just knew the gust was there so he didn't have a chance to get there. But getting to 2 points away is so critical that stopping that by playing... by having the Gust in our hand is super big, so we're able to come back from a 6 to 2 point well, it was effectively a 6 to 1 point deficit. I didn't get to see the hand. I think we have another unit in our hand. We have another Aurora. So if here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We only have 8 runes here, which is quite unfortunate. I would like to see back if there was a way we could have set up to have 9 runes. Oh yeah, if we don't hide the fight or flight, did we ever have a spot to play the fight or flight last turn? We're at 1 rune. What did we do? I think we just played Deadbloom Predator for 8, and then yeah, we had 1 rune to hide the fight or flight. Totally fair. You know, obviously if we had that 1 rune, you'd be able to just play a second Aurora here, and the game would effectively be over. Your opponent would very easily be able to conquer on top of what you have, like we know that. But you're getting another 2 units out in play, which is going to be another, at minimum, 14 might at the worst case scenario. So you're going to have a total of 21 might on your side to attack back and stop your opponent from holding, which is super huge. We see here, they attack up with the Mind Splitter. It makes sense. You get your point, you start defending. We drew another fight or flight, so we're able to hold here. I would really like to hold because we're not on 9 mana. What do we spend 3 mana on, it looks like? Oh, did we do a Treasure Trove combo, I believe? I think we did Treasure Trove combo, and then we just played a Miss Fortune raw. We didn't accelerate it or anything. And then now we are going to hit off of Aurora again. We hit a Mind Splitter. We know the hand's Darius, right? So we took a Darius that's kind of huge. And then now our opponent has a whole lot of might, but we are defending for a lot. I love putting the Mind Splitter on this Aspirant Climb here. It effectively gets punished by exactly Fox off of the top. And if they don't have exactly Fox off of the top, 14 is a perfect breakpoint because it kills 2 Darius and trades with 2 Darius. And this is assuming you don't have the Miss Fortune bullet time in your hand, which we're consistently keeping 1 mana open. It can be kind of suspicious to your opponent. Obviously, they know about the Gust. So now they have to decide, can they play around the bullet time by not attacking in with double Darius, you know, having them recycle 7 runes and then just like kind of screwing us? Or do you play around the Gust by just like sending in, you send in 1 to 2 units at a time with the Darius and stuff like that. Sorry, we're skipping a little bit here because there's a lot of stuff. So, it's really, really hard to play around. So here we're playing around the Gust. We are sending in a 4, 4, 4, and 4. So this is 12 over 8 with the Dead Bloom. Dead Bloom here just kills 2. Yes, you go to 7 points. But the big thing is that your next attack is going to be not very good. You're going to be attacking with a Darius. Let's assume you play a second spell here. You could go Darius, and Darius is 14, which, trades with our Mind Splitters. And then we can simply, you know, kill one extra unit or one unit goes over top here. That's fine. You're out of cards. We're getting a card a turn. We get to play a unit and give it accelerate with Miss Fortune, which is super huge. And the big thing is we have this fighter flight in play. This is a spot, by the way, where if you have bullet time, the opponent just loses the game, right? You bullet time for 4, completely wipe this attack and keep your Dead Bloom alive. Even here, it's not great. You push a unit back. You make them have to commit another unit now here. And then we have the Gust, which Gust prevents this Conquer. So now your opponent has to commit another unit to that battlefield now, right? Which I believe is what we're gonna do. We have, whoa, we had the bullet time? We had the bullet time is crazy. I guess we are trying to sacrifice 7 because we're trying to stop Darius, which is wild to me. I definitely would have just taken that value. Let's see what the board looks like if we just bullet time for 4. First of all, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You will have 3. You'll go to 5 runes next turn, which is still enough runes to play with, right? Versus having a bullet time for 7, which is your entirety of your runes, and now you're effectively never playing a card out of your hand again unless it costs exactly 1 mana, like a Gust. And then if we bullet time for 4, we get to keep our runes, go to 5, still play something, or we can play like double treasure trove, like at the very worst, right? And then the bigger thing though is that we have this 8 might Dead Bloom that is still just chilling here and hard for your opponent to conquer. Because what they're gonna have to do is they're gonna send in like a 7 might Darius with a second unit, and then if it's just Darius for 7 and then like rear guard for 2, you could just fighter flight back the rear guard, have the Darius come in for 7, and now your Darius killed, or sorry, your Dead Bloom killed a Darius. And I like that plan a whole lot. Whereas here, bouncing back an accelerate unit feels really bad because they didn't even have to commit this student here. They could have just simply replayed the accelerate unit, and then that also triggers your Darius. So you can replay the accelerate unit, go in there for 2 to the Zon Warrens, and then you can still attack for 16 over the top of these Mind Splitters because you have 14 from the 2 Darius and then another 2 from the Mind Splitter, or sorry, another 2 from the either rear guard or student, whichever one you wanted to send in there. So I'm not a huge fan of that. I mean, this is technically the same play, right? Where you can student up and then you do the same play rear guard, play Darius, attack over the other side, except now there's no shot at your rear guard dying. I really would have liked seeing a bullet time for 4. I understand we're trying to bullet time for 7 here to kill both Darius. Oh, what did we play? I guess I missed. Oh, we played a Mundo. We played a Mundo to hold, which is crazy. This Mundo is very big. The Mundo is very big, but the thing about Aurora is our units are also just very big. So this Mundo is getting plus 5, 10, 11, 12, and it's a base 6. So this is an 18 might Mundo. That is kind of just like, you know, 3 of our units clears that, and we will have 3 units very easily. Like, you know, it's not super duper hard. The bigger thing here is that being on 7 points is kind of awkward because if they drew into a Fox, which I don't think they did, because I think if they drew into a Fox, you might have just played it here instead of the Mundo, and taken both battlefields and said like, hey buddy, find a way to retake both from us. But the being at 7 is kind of scary. Not having it answered as Mundo immediately is kind of scary. But yeah, I really would have liked to see, I think if you bullet time for 4 and you wipe your opponent's board, well, and you still have the fighter flight available to be able to push back the first Darius attack, or even push back the smaller unit that attacked with the Darius and killed the Darius, kind of would have just been like locking the game up 1000%. Here we play second Aurora. I love this. This is the only spot to play second Aurora. And then what you can do here is just double stack on this battlefield. We get to keep 1 rune untapped because of Miss Fortune ability, so we still have room for this bullet time. So the first Aurora finds another Mind Splitter, which takes the last card of their hand. I would have just played this on the battlefield with the Mind Splitter. There's just no reason not to. You have stuff that has ganking, you have Miss Fortune that has ganking, and you can effectively give something ganking with Miss Fortune. What did we take out of the hand there? We took, obviously we knew it was Darius. And then here we hit a Dead Bloom off the top, which Dead Bloom is not particularly crazy whenever we have the, you know, big Mundo over there. But I definitely would have loved to see full holding here, because the issue with this now is if they do top deck of Fox, we're only holding here for, what is this, 2 and 4? We're only holding here for 6. So the Fox alone kills this, and we have to use our we have to use bullet time for 7 here, like our entire rune pool to deal with that. And then they just have 6 anyways in the back that just comes in and goes over top of it, and we're not happy with that at all. So at that point, I kind of just like full stacking and saying like, hey, if you have the Fox, you're still not winning. I still have units and I can still play the game here, right? I think we'll see what the Kai'Sa player drew or not. They are doing a lot of thinking, probably a lot of like, oh, they drew a cleave, it looks like. So they're coming in for 7, trying to kill the, oh, you can't do that. Yeah, coming in for 7, killed the Mind Splitter. That's totally fine. We still have enough to kill Mundo if you try and hold here. So this is the issue with this plan, is our opponent just like didn't do math here, I believe. Because yeah, they're tapped out. We actually just beat this Mundo face up, and then now there's a 0% chance that Kai'Sa ever wins, right? So this Mundo is for 5, 10, 11, 12, 13 plus 6. So this is 19, 21. This is 23. And we're holding 15. We're holding 20 in our hand right now. If we have any unit, we have a gust, so we can bounce this, for 20 or -2. So this turns into 5, 10, 13. So this is 19. This is 21. And again, we have 20 in hand right now, assuming we have no way to deal any amount of damage at all. You can also just, at this point, cast your... you can just cast... Oh, we're casting in front. So you can play the bullet time for... oh, this is absurd. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, we only have 7, man. We can't... Okay, so we just play Snapvine here, kill off a unit, or we can deal 6 to the Mundo, which is the highest amount of value. But yeah, we can just, kill one unit, which pumps Mundo. It's only -1, but then we gust the other unit, and then what happens here is you pull Miss Fortune back, even if you want to, or you can send the Miss Fortune in with other things to clear out the Mundo. So Mundo is 14 plus, so it's a 20. So you can send in Deadbloom, Mind Splitter, Miss Fortune, and that is exactly 20, which will clear the Mundo. And then we can send in just the Snapvine to get in there. But we don't really need to do that. We can just send in everything. The Mundo can't kill everything, I believe, because this is 15, 21. Wait, no, it does clear everything. Yeah, because we wanted to keep the Miss Fortune alive, which I think is kind of weird. I personally... Wait, Miss Fortune already has ganking. I personally would have just, like, not sacrificed the Snapvine, but maybe not. Maybe Miss Fortune is just better here, because if you have a unit in your hand, you can just give it Accelerate, which is quite nice. But now we're just getting 2 units a turn, right? We have Deadbloom, we have Miss Fortune. We're kind of just big chillin'. I would have liked to... Oh, wait, why did the Snap... Oh, because we played Confront. That's why the Snapvine came in untapped. Yeah, so this is not bad. I almost would have, like, not even cared about the point, just because I don't want to give your opponent this draw. If there was some way to still be holding both battlefields, I think I would have quite liked. We also have Gust here to be able to just gust this unit back to their hand. Again, now we're bullet timing for 2. Because it's a rear guard, it has Accelerate. So, makes sense, but now the game's just over. We go to 7, you gank over, go to 8, you get 2 more big units. And this game was pretty good. This shows you why this Kai'Sa matchup is kind of doomed. You just play big units. Obviously, they didn't draw a Fox, but they did kind of draw one of the best possible hands you could draw into Aurora as Kai'Sa, because you have so many dead cards in this matchup, but our opponent didn't actually draw them. The Kai'Sa player didn't actually draw them. They drew 4 Might units, which dodged Gust, which is really good. They drew Please, which is really good. Triple Darius, which is really good. Here, this is really frustrating that the judges are making them do this. I understand if it's on camera and because it's new, they might want to, just so people at home understand how it works. In person, please don't shuffle your deck twice and present it twice off of 2 Aurora triggers. Just do it the first time. Let your opponent look at all of your cards and then understand, okay, you can't win. There's absolutely nothing the Aurora opponent can do to stop both here. They have a Fox. They can stop one, but not the other. It's like actually nothing they can do. Yeah, the only really big hiccup I saw here was not just cashing in the bullet time for 4 there. I think bullet time for 4 would have been absolutely brutal in that spot. And then maybe the thought process was they just really... The Miss Fortune player really wanted to play second Aurora the next turn, and they know that if they can get away with just casting, you know, their fight or flight and just casting their gust, they can play second Aurora and lock the game up. I think it was still slightly scary, but I think we're okay. So here again, I wonder if the Miss Fortune player is going to go first or second. So we're starting with, this is the Recycle 1 rune. Kaisa player is choosing to go first. I think this is a mistake. I think you just go second as Kaisa. You're perfectly happy going second as Kaisa. You can play Yordle on turn 1 as Kaisa. You can still play any of your 2 drops at turn 1 as Kaisa. But the biggest thing is you stop the Miss Fortune odd curve where they have 3 mana into 5, 7, 9, right? So we already see the Aurora in hand. We see the Catalyst in hand. I mean, this is just simply a turn 3 Aurora game, and your opponent can't stop it. This is a fairly decent hand as the... oh, sorry, I don't want to back up that much. This is a fairly decent hand as the Kaisa player. You have a bunch of Accelerate units. You have cleaves on them for the Accelerate units, so you're quite happy. We saw the Fox. We saw the Smoke Screen. You have Smoke Screen. You have double Smoke Screen even. Like, this hand is amazing. This hand is amazing. Also, if you're going second with Kaisa, you can accelerate to Kaisa on turn 2 and start conquering and, like, being happy with that. Plus, you saw your opponent flip out this Recycle a Rune when you conquer battlefield, meaning that going second, having that extra rune could help you a whole lot, especially if you ever have to, like, accelerate a unit or play a power for anything. It's going to feel a lot less bad to do that. Yeah, because you're going to have to consistently recycle things, which is, you know, quite shitty. We do have the Gust here on 3, which is quite absurd. I like just... You can simply Gust this. Okay, there are 2 logics here, right? You can Gust this token to stop them from getting a point. You can not Gust this token to force the Kaisa to come up to Obelisk here. Or not Obelisk, I don't remember what this one is called. But Sigil of the Storm, I think. Force the Kaisa to come up to Sigil of the Storm, so the opponent has to recycle a rune. But now your Kaisa is on a very vulnerable battlefield. However, you don't care because you're not like... I guess you only care about this if you Aurora next turn and hit exactly Deadbloom Predator, which is perfectly reasonable. And so that's why I like this play. If the opponent ends up... you don't even have to bounce the token at this point because it has temporary, so it's going to die before the hold anyways. So I like the play of forcing the Kaisa onto this battlefield where it can die to a Deadbloom, or you at least force your opponent to have a Smokescreen. And even if they have a Smokescreen, it still trades with the Deadbloom, which you're kind of happy about. And they had to recycle another rune, which is like super duper good for you. We did have the Snapvine. So first Snapvine gets Smokescreened. Is what it is. You're going to have to eat Smokescreens at some point, dude. You're going to have to either attack into something with have a Smokescreen. You're going to either have to defend while they have a Smokescreen. You're going to have to Snapvine or Deadbloom when they have a Smokescreen. That's fine. Don't get upset. It's going to happen. The game is not over. It is 4-0 at this point, but because we have Aurora in play, I think we have a second Aurora in hand. Also, I haven't gonna take a good look at the hand. Let me slow it down because I think we're about to see some amount of hand here. Let's see if they fan the hand out. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have a Mind Splitter that we're about to play. I think that's perfectly fine. I saw an Anivia and a Gust as well. I don't know how many cards we have in our hand overall. But all right, let's take a look at this hand again. So we have Darius, Fox, Smokescreen. This looks like a... that can't be... Oh, no, that's a... some unit. I think that's Student, probably 2 mana 2, looks like a Student. So Darius, Student, Smokescreen, Fox, and the I always forget the name of this card. The Falling Star. Here, the opponent has 2 mana up as well. I think this is just a very safe Smokescreen take, or you can just take Fox, right? I think both of those takes are extremely reasonable at this stage in the game. Oh, here we go. We have Gust, Catalyst, I'm pretty sure, and Anivia. So our hand is actually like not that good. Our hand is not very good. It's really good into these like aggressive, you know, like the Student, the sprites. It's not really gonna sprite Mother because you don't want them to be able to play it over and over again. Or we go back to 2x speed here while our opponent makes the decision. But right there, I think the answer is either you take Fox so you can lock up the late game. You essentially say like, I'm gonna get here and then you're not going to have Fox for the late game and the game's going to be over. I'll just have to fight a way through the Smokescreen. Or you take the Smokescreen and say, I'm going to have to create enough tempo here to where when the Fox comes down, I can still beat it. We're just a gamer, by the way. We hit the second Mind Splitter off the top. we played one in hand, hit Mind Splitter off the top anyways, and now you just take Fox and it's not even close. I think there's a real debate for either play. I think fighting through the smokescreen is going to be a lot easier overall than fighting through a Fox, especially when your opponent is going to 6 points overall, and they just have to conquer, right? They just have to conquer. That doesn't sound super duper hard to do when you have a Fox in your hand, especially when you have Fox plus what is it called? The Falling Star, because you can Fox the whole board. You have to put units on to have conquered or to have like trying to be hold to stop me from getting points and stuff. So you smoke screen, you make the unit smaller, you can Falling Star, do a bunch of damage to the units, potentially kill them if you have another like a Stupefy or anything. Or what you can do is because you you Foxed and then you did a Falling Star to put the units at 1 HP each effectively, you can just go in with a 1 might unit and then try and kill it that way. Obviously that loses to Gust, but that's another play you can make. So here we double conquer, we play the Endivia, we're super stacking on this battlefield, and then I think the Kaisa opponent actually just draws a Fox here off the top like a true gamer. We hit an Aurora, Dead Bloom Predator is perfectly fine. And then what do we do here? This is also a reason why I think you could have like not super stacked a battlefield. However, because we have an Anivia on this battlefield, this means that the opponent cannot super stack back, right? So they're shuffling away the Aurora stuff. I think our opponent's deciding where to put this. Okay, they do shove it on here. We channel our 2 runes. Let's see what we draw here. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Kaisa player either draws a Fox this turn or draws a Fox next turn. Or they don't draw a Fox, so we're just talking about like theoreticals of how the Kaisa player comes into the game here. Let's see. Oh, no, yeah, they have the Fox in their hand. So because they have Fox in their hand, we did a lot of math on this. We went over this turn for like an hour, essentially, like me and Kuvira did. The Miss Fortune player has both a Gust in their hand and a Bullet Time in their hand. The argument was if you just play Fox and swing in playing around the Bullet Time, you don't actually get there. And some of us thought that you did get there if you just do perfect attacks playing around Bullet Time. Obviously, if you just swing all in, you just lose because they'll Bullet Time for 7. You wipe your entire board, and now they have 10 trillion might in play, right? If anyone's wondering if Fox wins here, it doesn't, because we have Gust and Bullet Time. So the opponent thinks a lot here of whether or not to Fox. They just end up playing secondaries. And the issue with this play, and they move a Kaisa over just to draw a card. The issue with this play is it gives us more time to develop, more time to draw into answers. I actually don't even think we develop much. I think we just develop a Miss Fortune, which is like not even particularly great. We spent 5 runes here. Let me follow back to see what we got. But yeah, so we untap everything. They just play another Darius, which makes their attack bigger. But the issue is we also build our like base bigger. Like we build our numbers bigger as well by assumedly, 2 units, a unit off of, hand, and then a unit off of the Aurora. So we have everything untapped here. I'm not sure why it's showing tap mana. Okay, there goes, just a visual thing. So I think we end up just playing the Miss Fortune. Yeah, we have the Bullet Time. We have Sleight of Hand or Stack Deck. I think we have 10 mana total. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 mana total. One thing I actually really would have liked here is I would have liked to stacked deck, and then once you stacked deck, it lets you look at the top 3, and then you can decide the things you can hit off of here that are playable that are really good for you are going to be things like Soul Gorger. We know there's 1 Soul Gorger in the deck, or at least there was 1 Soul Gorger in the deck in game 1. Whether they took it out or not is we don't know, but there's a Soul Gorger in the deck. So if you find Soul Gorger because you're on 9 runes, you can play the Soul Gorger. We know there's a Snapvine in our discard pile, so we effectively get 11 might off of those 2 plays by going Soul Gorger into Snapvine, but then you get another unit off of the Aurora at the end of the turn, which is probably going to be an 8 at this point, or it's going to be a Mind Splitter, which Mind Splitter is just going to rip the Fox out of your hand, and then you can't win the game anyways, which is also a problem with keeping Fox in your hand, is that if we hit 3rd Mind Splitter and we're getting really low on units here, it is going to be fairly hard for you to win the game after that spot. So yeah, we just play Miss Fortune. I think, did we play her Accelerator? No, we didn't. Okay. We just played normal Miss Fortune. Now we're gonna do our Aurora trigger, and we hit a Dead Bloom. I like putting Dead Bloom on the left to just put 18, or sorry, to put 16 over there. You would have to do the math again into Fox. Fox is the only math you need to be doing when you're in these stages of the game as the Aurora player, because your opponents will literally never be able to beat you or go over top of you without Fox giving your board, you know, minus like 15 at this point, and Fox being a 22 might swing on its own, which is kind of crazy. So with 16 might, you beat Darius plus like a 2 might unit. I don't think you know their hand at this point. You know they have like a Falling Star in their hand still. You know they have a Kaisa in their hand. I don't know how many cards they have in their hand total. I think it might just be 3. But let me see. So I think it's just 3 cards in their hand, and you know, okay, yeah, so it's 4 because we drew for turn, but you knew it was Kaisa, Falling Star was one of, or 2 of them, and then, oops, sorry, and then Fox is 1, and then it is a student, which doesn't matter. Oh, you also knew the student was there. So we actually knew their whole hand except for the Fox and then the top decked card. So we knew 2 out of 3 of the cards in their hand. I like stacking for 16, knowing that they're just going to go like Falling Star into student into Kaisa. So if you put 16 here, this is going to be like, again, 14 and then a 3 with student, because student goes up to a 3. So that's 17, which beats this. Of course, you're running into problems with the bullet time, and that's really the big issue that this Miss Fortune deck provides. It puts you in a lot of forks where, oh, we're going to get all these tokens out. It puts you in a lot of forks where you either have to commit a really big attack or not. And here is a really big issue with this game plan of the Fox into deal damage to stuff, is that if you do something like this, which is an absurd attack, by the way, on many levels, an absurd attack. This play just loses on the spot to Gust. You are effectively minus 8 damage to Gust for like just no reason, which is like, it's so crazy, to me. So this gets bounced. We remove 6 damage off of our Mind Splitters here. Yep, they heal. I guess he's saying to wait, but you're tapped out. So again, judges being judges, which, you know, is. So now they fully heal. A huge blunder from the Kaisa opponent. But even if you attack all the way in, so we're holding for 10, 18, 20 here. We're holding for 20 total might. You have 7. We'll pull up a calculator here. Oh, sorry. Where is my calculator here? Not captions. Calculator. Is this before or after? Okay, yeah. So it looks like we did the thing we got, so we healed. So calculator. So this is 20 on this side, and this is 5 on this side. We have a total of 3 plus 1 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 3. So you have 28 total might, which is enough to clear, if you think about it that way, outside of the fact that our bullet time will clear a minimum of 8 might. We know this battlefield over here is 20, right? So we have a 5 plus a 5 plus 2 plus 8. So we have 20. So if you sent everything at one time, obviously you get hosed by the bullet time, but even if you find ways to try and split it up, you just simply don't have enough might to get over top of our board now. Because you lost a Kaisa, you know, played this Fox, but we got a whole extra 8 might unit on top of her, you know, 5 might thanks to the Fox. So you just don't have enough might. There are no good attacks here. Period. Like, there's just no good attacks. If you try and split it up the best you can with saying like, oh, this is defending for 5, you just send in a Fox or something to clear the Dead Bloom. That's fine. This attack here, let me see if, okay, so he shook his head yes. I assume this is what he's sending. So this is 3, 6, 7. 7 kills a Dead Bloom Predator and a Miss Fortune. And we still have, you know, 13 over here, which 13 is enough to not beat this. So the issue with 13 not being enough to beat this is you have to send in 2 7s at a time to get there. So even with this, we just say, okay. You know, we just say, okay, I think they're killing, yeah, you kill You kill a 5 and a 2. Oh, we brought back the Miss Fortune off of the defense, which is kind of interesting. Whoa, that actually messes up the math a lot, because now we untap a rune tier, by the way, which goes to 4 runes, which don't think matters too much here. But bring back the Miss Fortune. This 7 kills 1 unit, which, I mean, like, if your Miss Fortune's gonna die anyways, might as well bring it back. But it only kills 1 unit at 7. We also forgot to untap a rune with Miss Fortune, which actually might matter because we're playing... oh, it definitely matters here. Because we're playing the stack deck, and then we drew a push with Fight or Flight, which is actually absurd because we'd be able to Fight or Flight and do the bullet time in the same turn here, which just like Omega Giga Turbo ends the game. Did Miss Fortune untap her spell? Or was it just not tapped because it didn't go anywhere? I think it just was not tapped because it didn't go anywhere. Yeah, we forgot to untap our rune with the Miss Fortune, which is quite crazy. So we let them conquer here. They draw a card. We lose our Deadbloom Predator, but you have to send in 14 to try and win, and then we just have bullet time for 7, and they lose the game. Again, here, if we have the Fight or Flight, we just push back the Fox. We keep our unit alive. We get to bullet time for a trillion. Our Fox comes in. Now we just have full board, 30 trillion might in play. We know 2 Foxes are down, so you have to be playing 3 might and have 3 might to get there. Anivia comes in, cleans up. Anivia stops you from ever trying to Giga Hold on something, because Anivia be that guy. Anivia be that bird, you know what I'm saying? We have one rune here because we had to conquer the recycle rune. I think we're going to gank Miss Anivia back over, which is what I would do. Oh, we didn't do that. Okay, I would have liked ganking Anivia back over. I like holding here because we know they have a Kaisa in play. So holding here for 15 just kind of stops them from being able to draw cards with Kaisa. And then I think I'm just going to skip towards the end of this game because this game is effectively just over. We have Falling Star. We like kill a couple units here. We play some other units here, but we just get too much value overall with all of the units we're playing. Again, we have 15 might on one, or 16 might on one battlefield, 12 might on the other battlefield, and those aren't even the biggest units possible. We gank Miss Fortune over, stack Anivia on one side, because now we're playing to 8 points. You were both on 7. The goal is just to super stack one side. So you bring Anivia back, put it over. I actually think you could have ended with all of them in the same battlefield. So let me double check here if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, we gave that ganking, so we move it over. We move the Anivia back, move Miss Fortune over, sure, and push up. Okay, maybe we couldn't have ended with all of them there if we didn't have like a push in our hand. Or we do have a push, but we're using it to make sure we don't lose. Totally fine. So we find a Snapvine, doesn't do a whole lot for us. You just put it on the battlefield to the right to just continue to super stack. We put it on the battlefield to the left, I guess, to hold for 11, which is fine. Either way, you just are trying to hold. I would have just super stacked on one battlefield because it makes it even harder to play. I guess you can make a case for saying, like, put it to your base in case they have unchecked power. But if, like, that's your argument, then you just move Miss Fortune to the base to play around unchecked power, which actually is, like, probably fairly correct, because I don't think your opponent is getting over 22 might with, you know, the hand that they had and the board that they had. You can kind of assume they're not getting over 22 might. So yeah, that was it. That was the game plan into Kaisa, where the Kaisa just got absolutely destroyed. And then this was day 1, which I think we saw Miss Fortune. Yep, perfect. Right here, right on cue. We saw Miss Fortune on stream. I think this is round 2. And it got obliterated. However, I don't believe it was the deck's fault. And I'm not trying to shame and blame anybody. I'm just, everyone's learning. The game is brand new. You're on stream. You're in person. Like, doesn't matter how good you think you are when you're playing in person and on stream. Trust me, you play not great. You know, so we play here. I'm pretty sure Kaisa wins the die roll. So it looked like they rolled a 10 on a D10. Our hand is, let's see what we got here. We have Stack Deck, Sabotage, and Aurora. I don't know if this is post-mulligan or pre-mulligan. Either way, though, this hand's great. Like, I'm keeping this whole hand. So Kaisa's going first. This Kaisa hand is not great. It has, like, Stupefy in it. So this is exactly what we're looking for, right? So we draw a Volibear. Have Volibear in our deck. I love it. I put out the deck guide the other day. It didn't have a Volibear in it. I immediately put a Volibear in it because it has a lot of good math into stuff. I'll go over that in the, you know, the sideboard video. So we turn 1 a stacked deck, perfectly fine. We see a Catalyst, which you should immediately take because we're lacking ramp. And we do take it, so this allows us to turn 3 an Aurora, which is exactly what you need to win. We're also playing on Aspirant's Climb. And then we do second stack deck, and I believe this is the first showing of a mistake and the most common trap that Miss Fortune players run into, which is not taking an additional Aurora for effectively no reason because you think your first Aurora will be enough. 1, you have turn 3 Aurora available to you. 2, you're playing on Aspirant's Climb, so the game is going to be longer than normal. You bought an extra turn with that Aspirant's Climb. 2, the first playing 1 Aurora on turn 3 is broken and will win you a lot of matches for effectively free. There are some times where you will still lose because you super low roll. Let's say you play an Aurora on turn 3, it brings out a Snapvine, that Snapvine gets smoke screened, you lose the game because your next hit is a Snapvine and gets smoke screened, or you get like your first hit is a Gorger, your second hit is a Snapvine that gets smoke screened, and you're just like super unlucky. We take a stack deck for some reason. Our hand's kind of broken. Our hand has everything in it that you need to play the game. We have Aurora, we have Catalyst, we have a Sabotage to stop. We're stack decking. The thing here is I don't even know what we're looking for. Also, by the way, third Aurora, which is absurd. Third Aurora, which is absurd to me, that we hit that in the top cards of our deck. Like, this guy downloaded the script for sure. But even here, we should be taking the third Aurora. Like, you don't need Snapvines in your hand when you could just play double Aurora and then find Snapvines anyways. Plus, Snapvine isn't even good into Kaisa because they play things like the smokescreen. I will say quadruple red for Kaisa is like kind of unfortunate. Doesn't particularly matter here, but oh my gosh, not having the ability to play like Sprite Mother here is absurd. So we go to 5 mana, we go to 7, and we just slam an Aurora on turn 3, I'm fairly certain. Which is at least what we should do. No, don't cast the Sabotage. Don't tell me they're going to cast Sabotage here. Okay. This is another mistake that a lot of people make, a lot of beginners make, a lot of people new to the deck make. I wonder if Casanova actually says anything on it. We're going to get some commentary here and see what Cass says.
This will get the winning point in this game, right? However, if you didn't have an early drop, I feel like maybe he had to get...
Okay, he's talking about kinds of stuff, don't worry. But yeah, so the Sabotage is like, we don't care, because what you just did is you just stopped yourself from doing the most broken thing in the game, which is a turn 3 Aurora. Because now we're only on 8 mana next turn. We're only going to be on 8 runes. We have 6 runes now. And that's the whole point of this deck, and the whole point of choosing to go second. I don't even know if they chose to go second, by the way. Like I said, I think the Kaisa player won the die roll. But yeah, we didn't choose second Aurora twice. We passed up on it. And then we also just like used our runes in a way to make it so we can't play turn 3 Aurora. I'm telling you, if we would have just slammed an Aurora on turn 3, like, look at our Kaisa opponent's opener, by the way. This is the worst possible opener for Kaisa. There's no pressure. This is, of all of the games you could play 2 Aurora and be perfectly fine, this is that game. You're on Aspirants where the game is going long. You're against a deck that did not play a turn 1 unit. You're against a deck that didn't play an accelerated turn 2 unit. Your opponent is getting their very first point on turn 3. The same turn you should be playing an Aurora, right? What should have happened here, so our Kaisa opponent goes up, they draw a couple cards, we stupefied our Kaisa just to draw. I'm not sure why we did that. We stupefied our Kaisa just to draw, which is kind of interesting. Maybe our hand is just that bad. But like, look at this. Your opponent finally played an accelerated unit, so now you're behind. You're 2 points. You're going to be at 4 points when you untap here. Imagine you just slam down an Aurora, right? Imagine we just slam down an Aurora. Oh, wait, we still have 2 Auroras in our hand. How did we get 2 Auroras in our hand? Am I crazy? Wait, what just happened? Am I just yapping for no reason? I'm so lost. How did we get 2 Auroras in our hand? So we stack deck the first time. We take a Catalyst, right? We stack deck, we take a Catalyst. and then we stack deck, and we don't take an Aurora, and then we stack deck, and we take the Snapvine, right? Oh, we put the Snapvine on bottom. Okay, gotcha. So we did take the Aurora the second time. So that's good. So we did take Aurora the second time, which is good. So they know that Snapvine's not good. Rant still stands. Snapvine into Kaisa not good. So, you know, opponent or Kaisa player did a good thing. But we didn't set ourselves up to play the Auroras. If you are not playing Aurora on turn 3, then you're not playing double Aurora in your game. Because you're going to play your first Aurora on turn 4, which is fine. That's obviously not, like, amazing, but it's good. That is probably the last turn you're allowed to actually play an Aurora, though, before it is just simply too late and you're going to fall way too behind on tempo. I'm sorry, my mouse double-clicks sometimes. But look at this. We have to spend our entire turn to ramp 2 and pass. We could have just played an Aurora, and then our opponent is at 3 total points. And this game is still fine, by the way, because they're only at 4 points here. You play an Aurora, they go to 6 points. We drew a Gorger, which would have been the first Aurora hit, which would have been not great, I believe, because I don't think we have a unit in the trash. But yeah, we would have had a Gorger in play, which is at the very least, it's 5 might. And then if you're playing more than 1 Gorger, can combo into something else. So we hit a Snapvine. You know, I don't think they have the smoke screen. Or maybe they do. Oh, sorry. So we're targeting the Darius. They do have the smoke screen. So our unit dies. That's fine. They untap, go to 6 points, and we have nothing. And this is why you can't really be playing Auroras on turn 5. Because that's what this was, is turn 5, by the way. This wasn't even a turn 4 Aurora. We played Aurora on, instead of 3, on turn 3, we just... Oh, no, we did it. So this was a turn 4 Aurora. So we turn forward an Aurora. Worst case scenario, we threw out a Snapvine. It got eaten, you know, it got eaten by smokescreen. Our opponent is at 6 total points. We are, again, playing to 9. So here, even, are we playing second Aurora? So we're still playing second Aurora, which is great. This is how you come back into the game. My issue is, imagine doing all of this stuff when your opponent is at 4 total points and not 6 total points, right? Yeah, and then even here, the game is still, like, relatively close, or at least should be. I'd have to double check. Mind Splitter, and then, so we see the hand. I think they have, like, Fox, Mundo in the hand and stuff. Like, that was the first hit. And now we Gorger, and we Gorger back a Snapvine, which makes us wish we took the smoke screen in the hand, but totally fine. We hit Snapvine, we recycle 2, we Snapvine the Kaisa. We know they have the smoke screen, so we let it happen. You can't decline the Snapvine trigger, you know? What do we... I don't know what we're arguing about, but yeah, you can't decline the Snapvine trigger, so that second smoke screen, that's fine. This shit happened, you know? They're going to go to 8 points total out of 9. You know, they're going to conquer on the other side with just, like... we conquered with Darius for some... Probably should have just conquered, like, a 1 might unit, but... That's okay. We tap all the way out. We have Falling Star. They use Falling Star to kill a Gorger, which is fine. But here's the issue, right? After they've... Oh, that's why we did Darius, so we can bring it back. Makes sense. But now, after we've done all of that, we just simply don't have enough units in play because we're minus 1 turn, minus 1 total units on top of everything. So this Mundo has +7, which makes this 13, right? If you have literally any second unit in play here, you're probably winning the game. Because and I mean literally any 2 units here goes over top of this Mundo and kills it. And then so we get that point. And then now you have at least 7 might minimum here. 7 might minimum here. To... Your opponent has to get over, which, to be fair, is just a Darius at this point. We know their hand is Fox and all that type of stuff. But the issue is we have, like, this Anivia in our hand. We have all these units in our hands that aren't actually helping us win the game. I think we just scoop it up. Oh, no, we play a Gorger. We Snapvine. We sacrifice our... okay, doesn't make sense because we just conquer, go to 9. We just lose the game. But this game should have been completely free, especially because we were playing the second Gorger. Or no, so this is the Gorger from hand, right? like what would have happened and what would have been out our Aurora flips would have been flipped out a Gorger. It would have changed a couple of draws, but like flip out a Gorger on one, that's fine. It's a 5 unit. If it dies, it dies. If they use their, you know, what is it? Their Falling Star earlier, that's fine. Is what it is. But the point being is that we have a whole other unit in play, and then we are able to start conquering and holding on a battlefield. Because what that 5 might unit does is that 5 might unit lets you go and conquer an open battlefield for free, effectively. And then after you conquer for free, the next 2 units you get off of Aurora both just go on top of that battlefield, and now that Gorger is at least holding for 5 on top of your other like 14 minimum, right? Because you just got 2 units, like minimum plus 12. So you're holding for 17 on like turn 4 at that point. And then like your opponent can't do anything to that. So now they're at 3 total points. They can only gain 1 and go to 4 total points. And the game's just like not close. Here the Aurora opponent lost and then chose to go first. Again, another common misconception. It kind of feels like maybe we just didn't fully understand how to play the Aurora deck. Either somebody just kind of told this person to play Aurora, or Aurora good, you should play it. This what deck do, but didn't like fully explain how to play it. They didn't give them a guide on it, a quick rundown, anything like that, which is fine. Game just came out, deck just came out, you know, they've literally had cards for less than a month. Could also just be like a card acquisition error, or not error, but like a card acquisition thing where like you can't, you know, have the exact deck that you wanted depending on it. So they accelerate Kaisa, move up. We're at 7 mana here, and again, this is actually a play I agree with that I don't think a lot of people agree with. This is Snapvine is perfectly fine. You have to remove the pressure. You get a unit in play, and it is actually safe. They don't have smokescreen mana. They didn't have anything to stop it. So this is a turn where Snapvine is perfectly fine to have in play. Yes, they can Falling Star it just to kill it. But like, what do? They can't accelerate Darius up because you can just play another Snapvine. And then this is a play that I don't agree with for many times. This is the second biggest kind of like new player error that people make on Aurora, is thinking that you need these points for some reason. You don't. Like, points are kind of fake, and points are not created equal. The first like 4 points, the first 4 to 5 points are not the same as the last 2 points, basically. Meaning that it's really easy to get the first 2 points and they don't matter. Stopping your opponent from getting the first 2 points don't matter. Stopping your opponent from getting the last 1 to 2 points is what matters, and is usually the hardest 2 points, you know, 1 to 2 points to get in the game. Kind of like how people say life is a resource in other card games, so that you use life totals. In this game, points are a resource. You can give up, you know, 2 points in some matchups, especially when you're playing a scaling deck like this. You can for sure give up 2 points and then just like, what is the opponent going to do here? They can attack Darius up, then they have to play 2 cards to bring, to bring Darius back. And then, like, that's the best thing they can do, which is not something you can really stop. We have double Aurora here. And otherwise, what we're doing is we're just sacrificing our Darius, or our Snapvine anyways. We have 7 mana, we're pushing the Darius back. The issue with this is now you can just play a second card and it untaps the Darius. So I would have just pushed our Snapvine back, right? Because you know that on any amount of energy here, your Darius opponent is going to untap their Darius. The only time that that push is good on Darius is if you either have a second push in hand, which is reasonable, or they've already used 2 cards to ready. So even this game, by the way, I don't know why Kaisa passed with all of his runes up. I think maybe they didn't have a play that didn't tap them out from pumping the Darius up or something like that. But even here, this is such an absurd spot to be in. Like, Aurora players pray to be in these spots, by the way. So you have Aurora on turn 4, going first, and after playing a Snapvine is like absurd, right? Because we went turn 1 ramp, turn 2 Snapvine, turn 3 pass. Yeah, so we played a Snapvine, got value out of the Snapvine, and still got an Aurora on 4, which is like the best possible curve you could ask for. And you stopped your opponent from getting a lot of value. And then here, the issue with this Deadbloom Predator is they have the smokescreen. Like I said, this is, you know, they wanted to keep all this mana open to stop it. They can pay the deflect here. And I personally would have just played a Deadbloom Predator in base and just not cared about this Darius. You let them get their point. your Dead Bloom Predator there dies to everything. Your opponent passed with 5 runes and 7 cards in hand, man. Like, they have to have cards to deal with it, right? So you force them to use the mana on their turn, and then you just play double Aurora. Like, they're only going to 3 points here. At best, they're going to 4, because they can bring Darius back, untap Darius, swing Darius in, right? So they're only going to 4 points. You have a Dead Bloom Predator in the base, or they have to spend a hell of a lot of runes to kill it. Their best way to kill it is going to be something like a Falling Star plus a Smokescreen, which, one, you get the Smokescreen out of their hand anyways, but now you've also gotten a Falling Star out of their hand, and your opponents had to recycle 3 runes just for the cost of the cards. They targeted it once with Smokescreen, and then they targeted it twice with Falling Star. So your opponents had to recycle 6 runes. Yes, they have a Kaisa. Yes, they have the seal. That's still 4 runes. They would have to have recycled 4 total runes this turn to simply kill your Dead Bloom Predator, which you're going to just get 2 units back on the next turn anyways, because you're just going to play Aurora into Aurora. And you're in a much, much better spot here. Yeah, we play the second Aurora perfectly fine. Like, I think this play's good. I just wish we had an extra 8 might to do it. So here you play the Dead Bloom Predator, you play it on the Darius. They have another Smokescreen, by the way, triple Smokescreen. Or no, sorry, just double Smokescreen. The first thing didn't get Smokescreened. So triple Smokescreen is what it is. And then we have a Snapvine, which can kill Darius if they don't have a second fast speed or like a reaction speed card, and they don't. So the Darius does die, finally, which is good. But like, this play was fine because you're able to pressure it, getting the Darius down. This is good, but your opponent goes to 5 total points, which is very important because we stop them from going to 6 unless they spend runes to have an accelerated unit. We know at this point your Snapvine just dies to a Falling Star, which, like, you're super sad about. You go to 6 runes. I think we have another Dead Bloom in hand. Your opponent has 2 more runes. Oh, we have a challenge in hand, which is great. If we can get any unit down. Yeah, we have the Dead Bloom. So we have 9 runes, which is not enough for Dead Bloom plus challenge. But what it does let us do is it lets us Dead Bloom onto the... oh, and we have a Sabotage. Okay, this is great. Then you can just simply Sabotage into a Dead Bloom and double hold, which is perfectly fine, right? You take the... Yep, you take the Falling Star. You can't take the... what is it called? You can't take the Watcher, unfortunately. But one thing you could have done on 9 runes, if you wanted to make that play, which... Wait, what? No comment. So, okay, let's look at our hand here and see what our options are. So yeah, we have the Mind Splitters in our hand here. So if you wanted to do a Mind Splitter play, what you could do is you could like Mind Splitter into challenge, which is like perfectly fine. The issue there is you're not going to be able to conquer something immediately. After we use the Sabotage, I thought the plan was just going to be to Sabotage to play the the Dead Bloom somewhere. Especially now that you know that, or actually, sorry, this dies because it dies to the Hexray. This play just like loses, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, but that's interesting. But you could have just, yeah. You could have played the Dead Bloom onto the, sorry, how far back did I go? You play Dead Bloom onto the Yordle here, because you know your opponent can't stop it. And you are just like winning this game. Like, this game is just over. You Dead Bloom there, it dies. Your opponent has Hexray and Fox. They're on 7 mana right now. They go to 9, which is exactly enough mana to accelerate a Fox and play a Hexray, which Fox plus Hexray deals 6 to something, which is not going to be big enough to actually kill anything in your deck except for 3rd copy of Snapvine that, you know, we've already seen 2 copies of. You don't really have to worry about that. This was just like kind of not right. So I'm trying to do the math of what we have here. So we're probably not finding 3rd Snapvine, and then Fox plus Hexray kills exactly third Snapvine. But then every other unit in your deck is a minimum of 7 might, assuming you hit exactly third Mind Splitter. So you're holding here for 9 total, which 9 will beat Fox. Your opponent has to bring the Darius back, play the Fox, play the Hexray to ready your Darius. So they're coming in for 14 total. You're holding for 9. And that's like worst case scenarios of you hit exactly third Snapvine. Oh no, because if you hit Mind Splitter, you just take the Fox and you win the game, right? So it can't be Fox, so it has to be like an 8 might unit into Snapvine, in which case you're holding for 5, 10 into 14, so that still would not get there. And that's if you hit exactly Snapvine, so you're still in a losing spot in exactly that scenario. If you don't hit exactly Snapvine, which I think we'll actually see the cards here unless the guy scoops. So we did hit Snapvine, which, oh wait, also, so wait, no, you still don't lose because Snapvine kills the Darius. So Snapvine kills the Darius here, so you still don't lose. And then we hit a Gorger, which is just like illegal, and then you bring back, oh, we don't have a Mind Splitter, but okay. This is so crazy. So Snapvine isn't even like the worst case scenario, because you well, that's so crazy. It's not even the worst case scenario because you just kill the Darius. They can't win next turn anyways because they're only on 6 points, and you know they don't have double accelerate. Gorger brings back just Miss Fortune because we don't have enough body runes to get back a bigger unit. I don't think we had a second Gorger in hand. We did, that's fine. So our opponent draws 2. Wait, this game's not even over because we actually just like luck sack the top. Wait, maybe the opponent knew exactly what they were doing and they're gaming. So how do we lose this spot? Because I know we lose. Spoiler alert. We go to 7 runes here, and we should just slam down a Mind Splitter to take the Fox out of their hand because that is the only real card at this stage of the game. You even have 8 runes if you really want to, so you can Mind Splitter and still have 1 energy open for the and still have 1 energy open for a like to bluff Miss Fortune spell like Bullet Time or something. So we double conquer here. Don't really know why. In response, you float a mana. I'm going to hope we floated a mana. I'm not sure if we did. We're at 2 points this turn. And then we should just Mind Splitter here to rip the... Oh, we didn't Mind Splitter. Why do we have so many runes open? So we hit another Gorger. Oh, and we get even more punished for not playing runes, man. We get more punished for not playing cards. Because we hit Gorger, now we just have to, like, lose our runes for free. That's crazy. I mean, and we just, like... We hit Gorger, and then we hit a... I didn't see what we... Nothing? Oh, here it is. It's off to the side. We hit another Gorger! That's so crazy! Oh, wait. You can't afford to decline these triggers. What do we need all of these runes open for? I'm so lost. Why are we declining triggers? You can actually just bring back another, like, 8 might worth of stuff at least. I have another 8 might here. Like, you know they have a Fox in hand, plus a Hexray. Like, math on board, aren't we just losing? This is, because these are going to go to 2, 4, 6, 9, and then a 2. We literally just lose the game on board to Fox plus Hexray that we know he has. Not even including the, like, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. All of your units are too small. Why did we keep so much runes? Our entire hand is units. That's not how that works. Oh, maybe he's thinking that it, like, makes the fight spell do extra damage. Was the thought. But, like, even then, that's just, like... Yeah. So even here, with the start we had to this game, we still should have won the game because we had double Aurora on turn 4 and turn 5. Opponent had a really slow start, passed with 5 mana open for some reason. But we kind of just inted away units trying to play for point tempo, get early game points. It didn't matter. We declined the George triggers. We didn't play our Dead Bloom to be able to start holding for like a trillion into these, like, there just weren't worst case scenarios. I thought there were worst case scenarios. There just like weren't. worst case scenarios apparently, because Snapvine still killed the Darius on the side, which stopped them from winning. And we kind of just like lost the game because they have too much might. They have the cleave and all that type of stuff. So yeah, that was a bunch of the mistakes that a lot of newer players make with Aurora. Again, I'm not trying to shit on this guy specifically. I'm not saying this guy is horrible and he should drop the deck and be ashamed of himself and blah, blah, blah. You know, like, it's a learning experience. Everybody learns. We've had cards for like all of 3 weeks in China. This person, you know, for all we know, could have like not actually been playing this deck for, you know, nothing but 3 weeks at most, because that's when he got cards at his LGS when he found out the game was coming out, right? So like, you know, don't be rude or don't say anything bad. The whole point of this was just to show you guys the common pitfalls that a lot of newer players make when piloting Aurora and just getting into Aurora. So that's gonna be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys got a lot of information out of this, both by seeing how to win by watching the first Aurora matchup that was played, you know, fairly well. I think we could have been. The only big note there was being more proactive with that bullet time, to not be so willing to sacrifice your units, but it still ended up being fine because we still get there. And then the other, you know, matchup showing you the common pitfalls of not having your Aurora on 3, not prioritizing Aurora on 3 by spending runes with sabotage and stuff like that, especially in game 1s. In game 1, where no deck except for like maybe yellow has gear removal in their hand, should you be sabotaging before you Aurora if you can't still play the Aurora on turn 3. Right? And even here, the biggest thing in this game is just to kind of learn of how to take board control, not care about the early game points. Your opponent has 5 runes up. You know, they pass with all of their runes. If you would have just played a Deadbloom Predator in your base, your opponent skips an entire turn, essentially. And they are going to have to decide now, do they want to develop to take the second point and get max points that turn? Or are they going to pass again with 5 more mana open to stop your big attack coming in with your Deadbloom Predator, right? So all in all, those were the 2 biggest takeaways that, or the biggest pitfalls that people do when they play this deck. I wanted to show you guys because, again, it's a lot easier to learn whenever you actually see it happen in a real game live on stream. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys enjoy these competitive VOD reviews. Like I said, the deck tech to this deck is already out. Go look at that on my YouTube channel. And then the competitive sideboard, like complete sideboard guide, will be out on my Metafy tomorrow. So go check out my Metafy. Go join that community. The deck guide is going to be completely free. And then all of the cool Metafy perks, you know, the coaching, the sitting in on my scrims, the doing tournament prep videos on there, all that type of stuff. You know, you'll want to be able to follow the community there so you know when all that type of stuff drops if it's anything you're interested in. So that's gonna be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.